With the NBA draft today and free agency soon, let the Damian Lillard sweepstakes begin. A while ago, Yahoo Sports reporter Chris Haynes had released an article detailing Trailblazers franchise centerpiece Damian Lillard's concerns regarding finding a worthy coach as well as being able to build a roster worthy of capturing a title. Regardless on whether Haynes' report holds weight or not, it doesn't take a genius to admit this roster is not championship caliber. Even Lillard admitted that the team was clearly not built for a title if they couldn't even get past the first round in the playoffs. Then, even more recently, a reporter by the name of Henry Abbott tweeted out that Lillard would seek a trade in the upcoming days. Of course, first teammate Jusuf Nurkic was quick to call this report out, which was later followed by Lillard's party completely declining the statement put out by Abbott. Abbott then later came out to defend himself, claiming his reputation has to mean something. Whether it happens before the season start or after, a Lillard trade is most likely coming within this next season in my opinion. Unless Lillard truly doesn't care about winning a title, which I highly doubt, there is no reason for him to believe in a roster that's already peaked. So today we're going to be looking at some of the trades Damian Lillard could be involved in, potentially before draft night and then also after draft night, and then we're going to give him some grades as well. Right off the bat, the trade I see most fitting for both franchises is a swap for Philadelphia 76ers All-Star forward Ben Simmons. Given Simmons' recent struggles, many scoff at the idea of giving up Lillard for Simmons. However, the talent of Ben Simmons is unquestionably high. Frankly, there aren't many young potential superstars out on the market, and when dealing a big fish such as Lillard, it would be devastating not to get something equally back in potential. Of course, the 76ers would probably have to throw in some other young studs such as 2020 first round pick Tyrese Maxey. The move for Portland would be to essentially direct themselves into a more youth culture building around Simmons. Philadelphia, on the other hand, would greatly benefit by having a veteran killer on the perimeter to pair with their dominant big man Joel Embiid. If the Sixers can convince the Blazers to deal Simmons without having to give up young forward Matisse Thybulle, I'd give this trade an A for the Sixers. The reason being that I think it's pretty evident that this team needs a perimeter closer to take that next jump, and it doesn't get any better than Lillard. Now, the reason I emphasize holding on to Thybulle is because of his defensive prowess. By losing Simmons, the Sixers are losing arguably the best defender in the league. As good as Lillard is on offense, his defense is subpar, and part of the reason him and McCollum often struggled in the postseason is due to that. Remember that they will also be losing Danny Green, an extremely underrated defender, in free agency. A backcourt of Damian Lillard and Seth Curry would essentially get eaten alive on the defensive end. Keeping Thybulle would significantly help bolster that defense. For the Blazers, I'd also give this trade an A. They're getting back a young potential superstar who has still multiple years left on his contract. There aren't many players on the trading block that have the potential of Simmons, and frankly, it might be a while until another such as him does get on the market. Another popular destination the media links to Lillard is Golden State. Assuming that they would not break their core of Steph, Clay, and Dre, a potential trade would look something amongst the lines of giving up former second overall pick James Wiseman, Andrew Wiggins, and this year's 7th and 14th first round draft picks. For Portland, this isn't the worst deal either, and it all comes down to how much they like James Wiseman. If they really like Wiseman and they think he's that future superstar big man, then I'd give them an A on returns since they're getting a young potential franchise piece in Wiseman alongside 2 first round picks that could help boost their rebuild, and a slightly above veteran wing Andrew Wiggins. I'd give this trade a C for the Warriors just because I don't see how they become an absolute championship caliber team after this move. One, they just lost a lot of size and athleticism with this trade in Wiseman and Wiggins, which will probably translate to lackluster defense. Curry and Lillard will already be one of the worst defensive backcourts, which could be a really bad problem in a very guard-talented league. Also, it's hard to ask Klay Thompson to come back 1 year off an ACL injury and expect him to be that lockdown defender he was during his glory days. Then, there's also the problem that Steph and Dame have extremely similar games. While Curry and Klay do have the ability to move and play off the ball, unlike Dame, the issue here lies in the fact that they all live in the three-point range for the most part. What worked so well with KD was that they had the ability to mix it up and keep the defense honest by taking and making that mid-range shot at a higher rate. Lillard will make the offense more repetitive which could backfire. This last trade, which is the least talked about potential trade, probably because it'll involve Lillard going to a smaller market, is actually one of the more interesting deals for both parties. If there wasn't a signal as to who was the franchise player prior to the season for the Denver Nuggets, it had to be their young center Nikola Jokic winning league MVP this year. With that being said, a trade revolving around point guard Jamal Murray and forward Michael Porter Jr. and some draft picks may be more than enough to garner the interest of the Portland Trail Blazers. While the Nuggets do not have any high draft picks, they do possess all of their picks for the next 5 years. I think this trade for the Blazers is an A, and if they can manage to somehow acquire both a 23-year-old Jamal Murray and a 22-year-old Michael Porter Jr., talk about rebuilding. This move would allow the Blazers to skip about 5 years of misery and instead land themselves 2 potential superstar players. Jamal Murray might be one of the more exciting young guards in today's game, and he's already playoff tested. In 2 of his first 4 years, Jamal Murray managed to lead the Nuggets to make the Western Conference semis and then the Western Conference Finals. This is the tough Western Conference we're talking about here, and a 21 and 22-year-old Jamal was able to have some success in it. Damian Lillard, as good as he is also only made 1 Western Conference Finals in his entire career. Jamal Murray is an ascending star as his stats only seem to be rising. In 48 games this year, he put up 21.5 points per game, adding 5 assists and 4 rebounds as well. Without a doubt, Jamal Murray seems to be in running for one of the most exciting guards to watch in the coming year. But if the Blazers aren't sold on just Murray, why not add MPJ, the real crown gem here? Formerly ranked as the number 1 prospect coming out of high school before having sidetracked by injuries, MPJ seems to be coming back for his throne. We all saw flashes when he'd initially come back and got a minute here or there. But finally this year, head coach Mike Malone unleashed the young phenom and let him play about 31 minutes per game. In those minutes, MPJ managed to average 19 points per game on 54% shooting, while also grabbing 7 rebounds per game. What the real key here is the 54% shooting. That efficiency from the wing spot reminds you of a talent such as Kevin Durant, who's obviously one of the world's best. While he's nowhere near as consistent yet, he can also get hot just like KD and the best of them. There are true flashes of greatness in MPG, and that is why if I'm the Blazers and the Nuggets come with the offer of Murray and Porter Jr., I'm taking that in a heartbeat. As for the Nuggets, I give this a B. In the immediate, I'd put Denver as a serious championship threat from the Western Conference, right with a healthy Lakers and Clippers. History shows that anytime you have 2 of the top 10 players in the league on the same team, good things can happen. Dame and Jokic have reason to even argue being top 5. However, a move like this is placing a huge bet that they can win it, because if they don't, they lose everything. They lose Lillard's value, and they also lose the young talent they had with Murray and MPJ. In the end, I think the most fair deal for both parties would be one involving the Sixers and Blazers. It is not only the most realistic deal, but a deal that both teams need. Let's be real, the Blazers' time with Lillard and McCollum is over. Year after year, they seem to disappoint in the playoffs, and if I'm the Blazers GM, I'm selling both backcourt players while their value is still sky high. As for the Sixers, they need a closer like Lillard to help Embiid. Simmons clearly is not ready for the big stage yet, and Tobias Harris is as inconsistent as they come. As always, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. If you have any other trade ideas, as well as how you think about the trade ideas that I presented here for Dame Lillard. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you next time.